This is 91.3 WYEP. I'm Rosemary. Tonight in Homestead, beautiful Homestead, the Carnegie Music Hall, which is a pretty legendary building. We're going to have Josh Ritter and the Royal City Band performing. Josh has got a new album, which is called Spectral Lines, and I am really, really happy to welcome Josh back to the WYEP studios.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Uh,
Thank you so much.
I think we were trying to figure out the first time I talked to you, and I think it goes back probably about 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years, man.
You
Went
had
fast, right?
you get to watch me age.
You've gotten to see me like get grayer.
Oh, I've watched you mature into the man that you've become.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's get a tune, Josh, and then let's talk about the new album.
All right. This is called Strong Swimmer. On the night that you were born, your mama, who had many friends, took you down across the reach to meet the tide come in. There were no lilies from my footsteps, there were no temple curtains torn. Still I felt you move inside me, a strong swimmer to be born. La da 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 da. Oh, the wind was in my hair, then your cheeks reflect the salt. Your eyes were two boats for the moon. I said, a strong swimmer you'll be called. La da 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 da. Now I cannot believe to see the leagues that you have swum. Cannot believe you once were me and you and I were one. Time only travels one way, I'm afraid still I'm a fool. 'Cause in my mind I try to wind the twine back on the spool now. Now I'm standing on the cliffs in the cold sea far below, and the birds that float the midway air like driven flakes of snow. I cannot go where you are going, I can no longer fight those waves. Still I'll watch you till you're out of sight, a strong swimmer all the way. La 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 la. On the night that you were born, your mama, who had many friends, took you out across the reach to meet the tide come in.
91.3 WYEP. I'm Rosemary, here with Josh Ritter, the album Spectral Lines. That's one of the songs from the new release. So I got the chance to sit down with this album, and I have to say it's very different than the last several albums that you have done. Whole new direction.
Yeah. Well, it was. I had a bunch of after a fairly lengthy imposed break from anything but just sitting in a room with my mask on by myself or with my kids. I ended up with a big pile of songs, and there was songs that went in all directions. I don't really edit what I'm writing, in terms of, I edit the songs, but some days a cowboy song comes out, but other days, you have another type of song, a song about an astronaut or something, and you can't choose what you're gonna write. But then, so I think of that part of making a record as really like cutting the stone from the cliff and then you haul all that rock back with you into the studio, and that's when you start to carve away at what the album is going to be. And what I realized was that like this was not a record that was going to be one that was going to be. I had to. I saw songs that hung together as being ones that established a sense of human connection, like that there was like that they were ones that either channeled a feeling that I felt that I thought was important to share, because I think it's important to share those things when other people might benefit from them as well. There are songs that say, "Have you felt this way? Because I have." And then there's other songs that like look towards a kind of a universal moment of justice as a or a hope as a thing that can be a universal feeling.
Interesting writing songs about human connection at a point where that's really been limited. So
Yeah.
I guess it comes out one way or another.
Yeah, you're right. I hadn't thought about that, but that's true. Like it was a time where that seemed to be in such short supply. There were those of us that were lucky to be around our family, but a lot of people were not that fortunate. And I remember during that time, there was part of me artistically went into real hibernation because there was no way to share what I felt like I needed to share for my own well-being.
Well, there are points in the album that I see glimmers of hope, but there are other points that they feel kind of dark or even maybe desperate in certain points.
Yeah, yeah. Like I think that being human being is living on a pretty. It's being strapped into a pretty crazy roller coaster. And the job of art is to make that you know make something of that crazy ride visible in the world, and that means that sometimes you're going straight downhill real fast, and those may not be the times to write, but they are definitely the times that are worthy sometimes of recording, of recording in some sense. Because there are moments of real desperation, that can only be answered through music.
Whenever you're writing an album like this, and you go into the studio, you have this choice as to how you're going to present those songs, and these songs, um, there's much less production, and it feels to me like there's way more focus on the voice, and that even includes the spoken voice. I mean, you start the record off with a spoken piece.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, I thought like the song Sawgrass is like a is a it's about finding that person who's one in a billion, and I really I wrote it as a song, and Sam Kassir, my producer, said you got to try just like speaking that part. So I thought, well, I like weird stuff, like I'm gonna give this a shot, and it was so much fun. I did the second verse like that too, and then it breaks into melody, but that was the way I wanted to start off the record, because frankly, like music is in making records is a chance to go on an adventure and to get to do stuff that you can't necessarily do live. And you get to go on a whole trip inside this imaginary world populated by the sounds that you can summon, and that's a really fun place to be.
It's not just your voice, though, too. It's how you use other voices. There's like a chorus on the record. I think you used Josie very differently on this record, right?
Yeah, she's Josie Adams is she's like an amazing. I think of her as like being like just paranormally gifted at like making music sound like really fresh and raw and cool. She just has so many cool ideas. She plays the clarinet through all kinds of wild effects, and she's an amazing singer, so she and guitar player, so she kind of does it all. And then I'm really lucky to be playing with Matt Douglas, also from the Mountain Goats, who's who also is like really classes up the joint, you know.
It never hurts going into a studio with people that you trust and that trust you not just to go along with what you're doing, but to kind of push you too and surprise you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I think, you know, you never want you don't want it to be you want to rise to whatever occasion you're doing. You know, like this, like these are people that are really taking the time out of their lives, and they're busy. You know, and you have a chance to work with them. You're lucky enough to just work with them for like a few days or even a few hours. You want to come and bring your best stuff, you know, and the stuff also that you think, like, you know, no matter what, these people are going to add their amazing colors to this song, and it's going to be all of ours then.
Well, we're with Josh Ritter right now here on WYEP. Spectral Lines is the new album, and it's the Carnegie Music Hall of Homestead tonight.
Yeah,
So come on out and enjoy the show. Can you do a couple more tunes for us,
sure.
please?
Yeah, here, I'll do this one. It's like a this is one I ended up not putting on the record, but it's not because I don't love it. It's just that I thought like it didn't fit. So I'm still working on the best spot for it, and I would love to play it. So I got off the highway north of Desert Canyon Station. I was driving with my headlights off, just stars for navigation. My telescope, my notes, and my ham sandwiches and coffee. Sometimes you must be all alone, there ain't no way to not be. I was thinking about Tanya, how things had rearranged and everything had gone full circle. We were back to being strangers. She was with a man named Neil now, that's all I knew about him. But I was happy she was happy, real happy that she'd found him. It was just after 11 when I pulled off at the lookout. The parking lot was empty, though the air still smelled like cookouts. And yes, I admit I took one. That doesn't change what happened anyway. You're not my parents, and it really helps my mapping of the System 611. A Magellanic cluster I'd been watching for a while. I got my telescope adjusted and I turned it on an unassuming patch of dusty sky. It was really 50 million stars, a billion light years wide. Then all at once it felt as if time had been suspended, and a vision poured into me like a bottle been upended. I was filled with revelation, both infinite and finite, that filtered down the telescope and coated in the starlight. It said truth is not immutable, itself is a dimension. Truth can be both weighted down and warped in strange directions. Truth has a shape that alters each according to observer. Sometimes you must be close to it, sometimes you must be further. Truth can bend and truth can break, depends on how you ask it. It frays or it may blaze out at some paw bound for Damascus, and it sometimes gets mistook for God, sometimes for its servant. It both exists and doesn't, like a star that's not observed yet. Which all at once returned my thoughts to System 611, still twinkling down the telescope into my mind from heaven. And I stood there looking upward as the darkness turned to dawn, received that strange transmission until finally it was gone. And I knew beyond a shadow my discovery was real, but the person that I longed to tell was sound asleep with Neil in some parallel dimension. Maybe Tanya was still mine, in this one she loved someone else that left me to search the sky. So I went ahead and wrote this to alert you to my findings. I call it truth is a dimension, both invisible and blinding. You can give me the awards now, you can knight me or whatever. I got nothing going on now, me and Tanya aren't together. Oh, just go ahead and laugh at me and all of my conclusions. symposiums and seminars and think tank institutions. You may even talk to Tanya. Let me ask you if you do. Please tell her I still love her. That will always be the truth. Thank you. All right. I'm going to try one more song right here. Capo out. I had it here a second. Oh, there it is. Fantastic. I'm going to play this is one I really wanted to play for a while. So this is called To the Dogs or Whoever. Deep in the belly of a whale I found her, down with the deep blue jail around her, running her hands through the ribs of the dark. Florence and Calamity, Joan of Arc. I love the way she looks in her underwear. Lose my page in the plot in the book, then I swear she ruins most of her time. But loving me plenty, she knows there'll come a day when we won't be getting any. Stain of the sepia, the butch Crimea, through the wreck of a brass band. I thought I could see her in a cakewalk. She came through the dead and the lame, a little bird floating on a hurricane. I was flat on my back, feet in the thorns. I was in between the apples and the chloroform. She came to me often, I was sure I was dying. It was always hard to tell if she was laughing or crying. I thought I heard somebody calling in the dark. I thought I heard somebody call. Joe never cared about the in-betweens. Combed her hair with the blade, did the maid of Orleans. Said, Christ, walked in water, we can wade through the war. You don't need to tell me who the fire is for. Now bring me a love that can sweeten the sword, a boat that can love the rocks of the shore. Love of an ice, reaching out for the wreck. Can you love me like the cross of the nape of the neck? Was it Casey Jones, or Casey at the bat, who died out of pride and got famous for that? Killed by a swerve, laid low by the curve. Do you ever think they ever thought they got what they deserved? Oh, pity the bullet, pity the man. They both found a place in the same sad plan. Both looked like the barrel going over the falls, crying all the way down. I never asked to be involved. I thought I heard somebody calling in the dark. I thought I heard somebody call. Began the dip and take a pink little pill, sent his men to the top of some hell of a hill. Through the whisper of trees came artillery breeze, said I love the way the wind comes tickling my knees. Jane shot the apple right between the eyes. I was thinking of her when you came outside, lemonade on your breath, sun in your hair. Did I mention how I love you in your underwear? Deep in the belly of a whale I found her, down with the deep blue jail around her, running her hands through the ribs of the dark. Florence and Calamity, Joan of Arc. I thought I heard somebody call. Dark, I thought I heard somebody call. I thought I heard somebody calling in the dark. I thought I heard somebody call.
.3 WYEP. We are here with Josh Ritter, a man who is not afraid of words. You write a lot of words. I know that's an older song, and you haven't forgotten any of the lyrics.
No, I once I write them down like that, then that's always how I learn other songs too. I always have to write them down, and then I don't forget them.
Ah, that's amazing. Well, words are not something that you're unfamiliar with. You've written a couple of novels at this point in time. I only found out recently about the second novel.
Yeah.
Would you say it's very different than the first?
Yeah, well, I had so much fun writing. The first time I was kind of making I was on a long trip through the snow, and I didn't see any footprints, in front of me. There was no one to follow. But and then the second time, I know I'd gone to that pasture before. I could make it in the snow, and so I enjoyed the process a lot more. There was so much fun. It's a story of a 99-year-old man told by a 99-year-old logger, and who talking about when he was 13 years old, and it's just a rowdy, fun adventure.
You want to tell us what the name is?
I don't think I can say it
Okay, well,
on the
you're
air.
just going to have to look it up because I looked it up and I saw it. And it's available
Yeah, I don't want to get
online.
you fined by anybody for.
Okay. Well, you do, we talked about creativity, but you go in different disciplines.
Yeah,
So there's the writing of prose novels, there is the music, but there's also painting.
yeah.
Is there a particular discipline that you go to because of a mood, or it's the only one that will express what you're going through at a certain time?
Well, yeah, like I think that different things are like, I used to consider, I still do, that a song is a pill. It really is. It's just like it brings you a certain emotion. It brings you to a certain place. And different art forms have that same feeling to me when I wake up in the morning and things are, I wake up. I typically like love to wake up really early and write. I can't write with the guitar because I'll wake the kids up. So I love to write my prose at that time in the morning, and then once I've dropped off the kids and everybody's doing things, painting for a little while is really good for me. It just gets me kind of in a creative place, and then it's all, there's different times of the day for all sorts of stuff, and then songs really just are like a gas. They just kind of tend to fill up whatever little creative time I have. If I'm making something, if I'm making soup, and I've got the soup going, I'm just sitting there by the stove with my guitar. And I just kind of carry that around with me. So they are all. I always consider them, all those sorts of things, being the same water. You're just putting them in different containers.
Well, you have I would imagine, a pretty creative household because your wife is a writer as well.
Yeah,
And children, children are just creative.
yeah, yeah.
They haven't been taught to rein anything in yet. And I seriously doubt in your household they're going to be taught to rein things in.
Oh no, it's wonderful. They're like, every one of them is like this strange, weird flower that is like opening before your eyes, and you don't know what's gonna come out. I think that Moxie, my youngest, is definitely one of those like Venus flytrap type flowers. She's like got that thing. But I started painting originally because I was watching Mr. Rogers with B when she was 2, and I just enjoyed the satisfaction that he got from like drawing with crayon on a piece of paper. I thought, that's so nice, so good. It looks so satisfying. So I got a set and I just kept on painting.
So, your children have definitely inspired your change in fashion. For those of
Yeah,
you out there, he's wearing bright gold shoes,
yeah.
something that probably wouldn't have done before kids, right?
No, no, yeah, totally. I thought, why should they have all the fun? Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, the other model that these come with have light up soles too, but I thought I wanted something a little more subtle.
Now, the going back to Spectral Lines, your album, it's dedicated to your mother, but also your father, your family. I know that you lost your mother a couple of years ago, and I was reading some things about her. She sounded like she was a really amazing person, and I wonder how her being in your life has impacted what you do on a daily basis with your music, how you interact with your children, the
Yeah,
world.
yeah. I think my my mom made me into like a fan of awe. She made me into a fan of that. She made me realize that that was a thing. Because like, I mean, it is easy to go to the edge of Niagara Falls and be impressed. It's so impressed, but like, also there is a point of letting yourself almost be crushed by the awe of something. Whatever that should be, whether it's the death of a loved one, or like new love, or just looking at the spaces between the stars and like imagining what's out there. Like just the raw kind of crush of awe was something that my mom uh, uh, was so aware of, and it went beyond all kinds of like of human ways of talking about it. But I picked it up from her, and I attribute it to her.
Something that I read in her obituary that I thought was really beautiful was that she rode horses as a child, and that she said that when she got lost, you gave the horse its head because
Yeah.
the horse would always take you home.
Yeah.
What is or who is the horse that takes you home?
Well, for my mom, it was her faith, you know, and I always found that to be such a difficult uh, tension between being a person of science and a person of such bedrock faith uh, in a particular religion, and but it was for her, it was her pathway to feeling that sense of awe, you know. It didn't turn out to be mine, but it was something that helped her fundamentally appreciate her place in the universe.
Well, we appreciate your place in the universe and your place here on WYEP.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's Josh Ritter here with us, and we'd love it if you do one more tune.
Sure. Yeah. I'll do it. This is called For Your Soul. You with the light in your face, who walketh only in grace, things about to get tough. There's a battle that rages, you can't wish it away, you'll have to fight for your love. For your soul, honey, for your soul, honey, for your soul. For your soul, honey, for your soul, honey, for your soul. Will you be worthy and yet unworthy in the same breath, and look yourself in the mirror? Will you be righteous and strong by saying when you were wrong and put aside your own fear? For your soul, honey, for your soul, honey, for your soul. For your soul, honey, for your soul, honey, for your soul. You with the light in your face, you who can see your own way, things about to get hard. No time for spinning your wheels, hoping to magically heal what might just tear you apart. For your soul, honey, for your soul, honey, for your soul. For your soul, honey, for your soul, honey, for your soul. For your soul, honey, for your soul, honey, for your soul. For your soul, honey, for your soul, honey, for your soul.
Carnegie Music Hall of Homestead tonight with your band. Got to mention the band.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a big production tonight, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Oh.
Yeah, it's gonna be the
New stuff,
big,
old
big
stuff.
old show, everything. Yeah, I love playing. I love playing all my songs. It's really fun.
Well, thank you, Josh. Spectral Lines, by the way, is the new album, and thank you so much for bringing your talent and your time into here.
Oh, thank you so much, Rosemary. Thank you so much for everything. That's so wonderful.